I want to spend some time here talking about what we've been discussing for the last couple of days, and that is the economic challenges that everybody's facing, but women in particular are facing. And I come to this conversation not just as a candidate for president or a United States senator, but as the father of two young daughters who one day are going to have careers and families of their own. I also come to it as a son, a grandson, and a husband who's seen the women in my life confront so many of these challenges myself or themselves. Growing up, I saw my mother, who was a young single mom, put herself through school and ultimately follow her passions for helping others while raising me and my sister. She became a specialist in international development and microfinancing, and she'd go to small villages all around the world and help women get the financing they need to set up their own businesses so they could have a little bit of economic freedom. And so that was something she loved to do, but I remember when she was young and still getting her degree, struggling to provide for us, worrying sometimes about how she was going to pay the bills while she was raising us and going to school on her own. There were a couple times where she had to swallow her pride and get some food stamps to make sure that we had enough to eat. And so I know how tough it can be for a lot of women out there. I saw my grandmother, who helped raise me, and she had grown up in a small Kansas town, married my grandfather out of high school. He went off to fight in World War II. She was one of those Rosie the Riveters. She worked on a bomber assembly line while looking after my mom, a baby at home, a baby who had been born in Fort Leavenworth. And when my grandfather returned, he got the GI Bill, so he could go to college, but the women didn't. And so she never got a college education. She started working as a secretary when they had moved to Hawaii, and because of her grit and determination, she ended up working her way up to become the first woman vice president of a bank in Hawaii, despite the fact that she never got more than a high school degree. But I also saw how she ultimately hit the glass ceiling, how men that she had trained who were not more qualified than her ended up moving up that corporate ladder. And of course, I've seen my wife, Michelle, the rock, the foundation of the Obama family. I have seen her juggle jobs and parenting with more skill and grace than anybody I know, and she looks so good doing it. But I've also seen how it pulls at her, it tears at her. How sometimes when she's with the girls, she's worrying about her work, and when she's with her on the job, she's worrying about the girls. And although she does a remarkable job, she feels at times overwhelmed, feeling as if she isn't doing good at anything. And obviously that's not unusual. And then when she comes home, she's got the jobs that come once the workday ends, whether it's cleaning the house or paying the bills or buying the groceries or helping with that science project or enforcing bedtimes. The jobs you don't get paid for, but that hold our families together. Jobs that still, in 2008, despite so-called enlightened husbands, still somehow end up falling to women. This is something I hear all the time from working parents, especially working women, many of whom are working even more than one job to make ends meet. I just want everybody to be clear, these issues we're talking about aren't just women's issues. When a job doesn't offer family leave, that also hurts men who may want to care for a newborn baby or an ailing parent. When there's no affordable child care or after-school programs, that hurts children who wind up in second-rate care or have a TV as a babysitter. When women just make 77 cents for every dollar that a man makes, that doesn't just hurt women, it hurts families who have less income in order to do what they need to do. We take it for granted that women are the backbone of our families, but we all too often ignore the fact that women are also the backbone of our middle class. And we won't truly have an economy that puts the needs of the middle class first until we ensure that when it comes to pay and benefits at work, women are treated like the equal partners that they are. So you'd think that solving these problems would be one of the nation's highest priorities. But while some politicians in Washington make a lot of noise about family values, when it comes to what people and families actually need, the care, the resources they need to care and support families, suddenly these same politicians get awfully quiet. And year after year, it just gets harder for working parents, especially working women, to make a living while raising their kids. And that's why it's time to change Washington. Now, Senator McCain is an honorable man. He has rendered extraordinary service to this nation, and we deeply respect that service. But when you look at our records, you look at our plans on the economic issues that matter most to women, it becomes very clear that he will not bring change, and I will. That starts with acknowledging the economic difficulties that so many families and so many women are experiencing right now. If you can't see the problem, you're not going to solve it. Senator McCain, unfortunately, doesn't seem to see the problem. He surveyed the Bush economic record, and he said that we had, quote unquote, made great progress with the economy. Today, one of his top economic advisors, former Senator Phil Gramm, said that we're merely in a mental recession. That's what he said. Said we're in a mental recession. It's all, he didn't say this, but I guess what he meant was that it's a figment of your imagination, these high gas prices. Senator Gramm then deemed the United States, and I quote, a nation of whiners. Ho! A nation of whiners. Now this comes after Senator McCain recently admitted that his energy proposals, for the gas tax holiday and the drilling, will have mainly, quote, psychological benefits. I want all of you to know that America already has one Dr. Phil. We don't need another one when it comes to the economy. We need somebody to actually solve the economy. It's not just a figment of your imagination. It's not all in your head. Let's be clear. When people are struggling with rising costs of everything from gas to groceries, when we've lost 438,000 jobs over the past 6 months, when the typical family has lost $1,000 in income in real terms since George Bush took office. This was even when the economy was growing. This economic downturn is not in your head. When people are out there losing their homes and property values are declining, that's not a figment of your imagination. And it isn't whining to ask government to step in and give families some relief. I think it's time we had a president who doesn't deny our problems, or blame the American people for them, but takes responsibility and provides the leadership to solve them. That's the kind of president I intend to be. So let's just take a specific issue. Senator McCain and I have a real difference when it comes to equal pay. In 2008, when 62% of working women in America earn half or more than half of their family's entire income, you'd think we'd be united in a determination to close the gap between what men and women are getting paid. But Senator McCain thinks that the Supreme Court got it right last year when they handed down a decision making it harder for women to challenge pay discrimination at the workplace. He opposed legislation that I co-sponsored to reverse that decision. He suggested the real reason that women don't have equal pay isn't discrimination on the job, it's because they need more education and training. Go. Well, let's be clear. The problem in these cases isn't that the woman is somehow unqualified. It's not that she's unprepared for these higher paying positions. When these cases are brought, they're doing the same job with the same qualifications, and they're being paid differently. The problem is employers aren't treating women fairly. That needs to be changed, and I'll change it when I'm President of the United States of America. That's why I stood up for equal pay in Illinois State Senate and helped pass a law that, to give 330,000 more women protection from paycheck discrimination. That's why I've been fighting to pass legislation in the Senate so that employers don't get away with shortchanging women workers. That's why I'll continue to stand up for equal pay as president. And Senator McCain won't, and that is a real difference in this election. As the son, grandson, and husband of hardworking mothers, I also don't accept an America that makes women choose between their children and their careers. It's unacceptable that women are denied jobs or promotions because they've got kids at home. It's unacceptable that 22 million working women don't have a single paid sick day. It's unacceptable that millions of working mothers could actually be fired for taking maternity leave, and that 78% of workers who have family leave can't afford to take it because it's not paid. No matter what you do for a living, I think we can all agree that raising our children and caring for our loved ones is the most important job that we have. And it's time we started making that job a little bit easier, especially for working women. That means giving folks a hand with child care, from expanding the child care tax credit to an additional 7.5 million working moms. It means providing after-school and summer learning opportunities for an additional 3 million children. It means investing $10 billion to give early childhood education to every child that needs it so that we can close the achievement gap. It means dramatically expanding family and medical leave to reach millions of additional workers. And I'll ensure that it doesn't just cover staying at home with a new baby, but also lets you take leave to care for elderly parents or participate in school activities like parent-teacher conferences and assemblies. It means standing up for paid leave. So I'll invest $1.5 billion to help create a paid leave system across America. And I'll require employers to provide all of their workers at least 7 days of paid sick leave a year. You know, people, if you're sick, you should be able to get a day off and look after your children when they get sick. That's a difference in this election. Now, finally, we've done more we have to do more to help people at the bottom of the economic ladder climb into the middle. So many working women today are living right on the edge. I met a woman a few weeks ago in New Mexico who told me she worked 2 jobs, at a restaurant and at a hair salon. But the last time she went to see a doctor, and this is a relatively young woman, my guess was she was around 30 or late 20s. Last time she saw a doctor was 10 years ago because she didn't have insurance and she couldn't afford an appointment. She later said, "This is a pretty hard life. I just want to figure out how we get out of this box." When you're working that hard, when you're working 2 jobs, you shouldn't be in a box. Life shouldn't be that hard. You shouldn't feel trapped. And that's why, while Senator McCain wants to continue the Bush tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans who don't need them and didn't even ask for them, despite the fact that he wants to give $100 billion in additional tax cuts to corporations, including $1.2 billion going to ExxonMobil that made $11 billion last quarter, I want to give a tax cut of up to $1,000 per working family so that every single family in America that is having a tough time right now can get a little bit of relief. I'll expand the earned income tax credit so that no one working full-time winds up living in poverty. That's what I did in the state Senate in Illinois, bringing Democrats and Republicans together to save more than $100 million for hard-working families. And unlike Senator McCain, I'll make sure the minimum wage rises each year to keep up with the cost of inflation. It'll be $9.50 by 2011, giving 8 million women across the country a well-deserved raise. Unlike Senator McCain, I'll work as a partner with our unions, because we know when it comes to standing up for women's rights in the workplace, our unions are second to none. And it's time we start giving them the support they deserve. Unlike Senator McCain, I'll make sure every working woman has a chance not just to get by, but to get ahead, to save, to invest, to build a nest egg and provide a better life for their children. I'll cut the capital gains rate to 0 to help women, small business owners grow their business and create jobs. And for nearly 2/3 of working women who have no 401k, I'll provide automatic portable retirement savings accounts that will help them build up their wealth and provide for a secure retirement. So, and by the way, although this isn't specific to women, because women tend to live longer, this affects them more. One of our proposals to change our tax code and give ordinary folks relief, if you're a senior citizen who's making $50,000 a year or less, we don't want you to pay income taxes because you're having a hard enough time dealing with rising costs as it is. So these are real differences in this election. And my policies add up to real relief for working women. Here in Virginia alone, 2 million working women will get a $500 tax cut, 215,000 will receive child care assistance, 200,000 women entrepreneurs won't have to pay any capital gains tax. So we are not, we're not just talking the talk. We want to walk the walk. And by the way, all these proposals are paid for by closing corporate loopholes, ending the war in Iraq, charging polluters for the pollution they're sending in the atmosphere. If we can spend $10 billion in Iraq, we can spend some money right here rebuilding the American middle class. Yes, we can. So, you know, in the end, the conversation we're having isn't just about policies or plans. It's also about our most fundamental values. That when you work hard, you should be able to get paid fairly and retire with some dignity. the value that we rise and fall together, that there are no second-class citizens in the workplace, that both work and family should be part of the American dream. As hard as it is for me to be away from my own family, to be away from my two precious daughters and a wife that I love so much, that's what I think about when I have the chance to tuck them in at night. And yes, I tuck Michelle in too, because she usually goes to bed earlier than I do. How I want my daughters, and all of our daughters, to have no limits on their dreams, no obstacles to their achievement, no opportunities beyond their reach. That's why I'm running for president. I want to make sure you have no obstacles to your dreams. I want to fight for you. I want to listen to you and work with you to create a better America. And that's why I hope all of you join my campaign, because if you're willing to knock on some doors, if you're willing to do a little work for me, then I promise you this: not only are we going to win Virginia, we are going to win this general election. And you and I together, we're going to change the country and change the world. Thank you very much, Fairfax. Thank you.